you. So you might have heard that we have a new government. And now our work really begins to support them to make the best possible decisions for children and young people, especially those facing the greatest challenges. But there is a lot of work to do, and much of it feels very urgent. So as we discussed this morning, that's why it's really important for us to focus on the root causes driving a wedge in educational inequity, so that we're not here in another 10 years' time talking about how the gap is ever wider. It's the widest point it's ever been. So today, we launch Fair Education 2024, Priorities for a New Government. Hot off the press, the physical copies are stuck in a parcel for somewhere because we clicked print at the last possible moment post-election, and we're really hoping to get you those copies today, if not, something to look forward to. But in that, we highlight the urgency of the problem and our collective asks for what we think will make substantial progress over the next decade. We must attack this problem as if it can be solved, because it can. It's become received wisdom in the sector that voters don't care about education, and therefore politicians don't care about education. And there's plenty of evidence to support that, but we can't see it as a fact of life that can't be changed. So we commissioned a Survation poll last week, and in that poll, 2 out of 3 respondents said that this government should, as a top priority, address educational inequality, even over other issues in education. So that's an opportunity, right? People do care. If you're able to cut through to them, people can care. And the incoming government also seems to share our goals. Breaking down barriers to opportunity is one of the Labour Party's missions in its manifesto, and that is inextricably linked to educational inequity. So we have an opportunity there too. So now's the time to reinforce the need for long-term joined-up thinking and to speak with one voice about what we think will really turn the dial for the next generation of young people. But before we get into the specific recommendations, I'd like to bring up Mama Damfa, our brilliant youth steering group member, and she's going to summarize the challenge before us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mama, as Janina introduced to you guys. For the past 10 years, we've used the Fair Education Impact Goals to monitor our progress in ending educational inequality. These show that the gaps between those from low-income households and others are as wide as ever, despite over a decade of effort to end them. The 5 Fair Education Impact Goals are: narrow the gap in literacy and numeracy at primary school, narrow the gap in English and maths GCSE attainment at secondary school, ensure that young people develop social and emotional competencies and good mental health and well-being. Also, narrow the gap in the proportion of young people taking part in the further education, training, and after finishing their GCSEs. Narrowing the gap in university access as well. Inequalities exist from the very beginning. At age 5, children from low-income households are already 4.8 months behind their peers in meeting early learning goals. But this gap grows at every stage of education, to 10.3 months at the end of primary school and to 19 months at the end of secondary school. Pupils from low-income households are also more likely to have social, emotional, and mental health needs than others. They are over 3 times more likely to be severely absent from school and 5 times more likely to be permanently excluded. These gaps impact what students go on to do after school. 13% of young people from disadvantaged backgrounds are not in education, employment, or training compared to only 4% of their peers. They are also less likely to have essential skills linked to better employment outcomes. Students from low-income households are also half as likely to go to university especially a more selective university than others. At each stage, additional barriers are put up for children who have been in persistent poverty, have SEND, live in certain parts of the country, or are from certain ethnic minority backgrounds. The result is that a child born in a low-income household, like me and many of my peers, is more likely to have worse academic attainment than others, but is also more likely to become unemployed or become low income themselves. This is not surprising, and this is a reality for a lot of me and my peers. Although I have been blessed with more opportunities than I can account for that have allowed me to be here before you today, it is not acceptable for any young person to worry about their future due to aspects that they cannot control. Whether it be higher education, apprenticeships, young people should not feel inadequate or undeserving of any opportunities or even fair treatment within the education system. Education is free, but at what cost? If it wasn't for the numerous social mobility programs that some representatives are here in the room today, like the Access Project, like the Elephant Group, I probably would not be at a university studying a course that I love, and I probably wouldn't be standing before you all today. But for many of my peers, that is not the same case, and that is not okay at all. It is not acceptable, and this all needs to change now. But just because we are familiar with this unfortunate reality does not make it acceptable. We need to attack the root causes of educational inequality and take a long-term view. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mama. So when you look at how progress has stalled or reversed straight across all of the impact goals, it's clear that something dramatic needs to shift in the situation, but also in how we're trying to change it. So the 4 priorities I'll talk you through now attempt to get to the root causes of inequality in education, while also balancing the need to do our best for those young people in the system right now. Getting that right will take the expertise in this room, and it will take leadership from government, and it will take us supporting and learning from each other. But if we actually mean to solve educational inequity in our lifetime, we have to look at what's driving the gaps wider, like the knock-on effects of poverty, which we discussed in the first half of the day, like the pressures facing teachers, like school funding, and the failure of our system to give every young person a way to thrive at school. And then we need to think about what's driving those drivers. So the 4 priorities that we propose for the incoming government are ones that you've heard before because they're important, but they're also complex and take a long time to solve, and we haven't solved them yet. So the first is a strong and supported workforce, because without this, we can't deliver anything else. The second is a system that prepares young people to thrive in work and in life. So that means strong academics, it means the essential skills that they're going to need for our modern world, and it means prioritizing the needs and well-being of young people. Third is the best early education and care for every child, and that's whether they spend their early years at home or in a setting. Every child deserves the best possible start in life, including those with SEND. And then finally, something we've talked about a lot today, joined up services to meet rising needs. Schools can't achieve equality of opportunity on their own. So we need more effective local collaboration and better communication, funding, and join up. So I'm now going to invite a member to say a few words on each priority. But as you listen, I'd really like for you to jot down some notes on what you think you or your organization might like to get involved with, what can you support with, what aligns with your own priorities, and we'll come back to those towards the end. Because these issues still need a lot of development. We have this opportunity, and we'd love to bring members together with the new government to help push them forward. So first, I would love to welcome to the stage Cara Cinnamon of Mission 44 to talk about a strong and supported workforce.
Hi, great to be here this afternoon. And I think as you've heard from our founder, Sir Lewis Hamilton, this morning, Mission 44 is a charitable foundation determined to build a more inclusive education system. An essential part of that for us is to ensure that the teachers and leaders working in those schools reflect the young people that they serve. So as you may know, in England today, 60% of schools have an all-white teaching staff, 86% of schools have an all-white senior leadership team, and of all of the head teachers in the country, only 1% are black. Now, this is not due to a lack of interest in the teaching profession, and in fact, ethnic minority applications are overrepresented in applications to ITT, but those people are less likely to receive an offer, and then less likely to accept those offers. If teachers from ethnic minority backgrounds do qualify to become teachers, they are less likely to stay in the profession and even less likely to progress into senior leadership roles. So clearly there is much work to be done. And we do know that good work is already happening in the sector. And at Mission 44, I think we feel that our role here is to help accelerate the progress being made. And we think that we need to do that by doing 4 things really well. So the first, as you may know of already, we've been investing into research to better understand that problem and the solutions. And secondly, we want to fund interventions that can work at scale and interventions that have the potential to radically transform the system. So you may have seen that we launched a new fund earlier this year and expect to invest just over £3.5 million in initiatives that improve the supply of diverse talent into teaching and leadership roles, and to support anti-racism in schools and to increase inclusive practice more widely. So as well as that funding, which is of course really important, we also want to help connect partners working in this space to help the sector share learning and best practice more easily. And then finally, given our position and our profile, we really want to use our platform to campaign for change, promoting the benefits of a more diverse education system and teaching workforce, and to promote the solutions that already exist in the sector. So we really look forward to working with the new government, many of our peers and partners who are here today, to accelerate our collective efforts towards a stronger, more diverse workforce. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Cara. And Mission 44 doing that amazing work on racial inclusion in the profession, but inclusion at all levels is going to be important in the profession. We're also convening alongside Maternity Teacher, Paternity Teacher project to make the profession more sustainable for those with caring responsibilities. And we also need to think about what our accountability system is doing to the incentives to teach in schools that serve the lowest income communities, because we know that those schools feel these pressures most acutely when there is a teacher recruitment and retention crisis. So we need a system that rewards the complex work that teachers in such schools do. Thank you, Cara. Next, I'd like to invite up to the stage Lucy Stevens, director of the New School, which serves as a case study for our second priority, preparing every young person to thrive in work and life. Lucy.
Hi, everyone. So as Janine said, I'm from the New School. We're an educational charity with a research school seeking to understand if you change the structures of a school model, how you can impact young people's life chances and well-being. So we really back the FEA's priority areas, particularly an evolution of the education system that enables young people to thrive and not just survive in education and therefore in their future lives and work. One of the things we do at the New School is to measure progress across a broad range of areas, including social and emotional learning, not just academic. And so we really back a universal framework for all schools to be held accountable to a broader range of outcomes, which is really crucial so we can put the right supports in place across a range of issues and not necessarily just targeting academic ones. We're passionate about multi-agency working and joined up services, which is so important so that we're not working in silos. And we need to build a comprehensive data set on young people to understand their needs across a broad range of areas. This would enable us to target funding, interventions, and collaborate across third sector, across LAs, across schools, and across business and public and private sector. It's crucial to us that we understand and work with young people's needs across a range of areas, including neurodiversity and SEND, and find ways to meet those needs so that no child slips through the net and is not impacted by factors beyond their control, such as the pandemic. For us, it's crucial to invest in and re-professionalise the workforce in schools, not just teachers, but those in and around education, enabling the agency that's needed in the workforce in order to understand progress and to innovate as well. We've got a changing future, and enabling the workforce at the that's front and centre with young people is crucial. And finally, it's crucial for us that we engage our main stakeholder, and that is young people, in decisions that affect them and use them as the key stakeholder and decision maker. If we can work and drive from that perspective upwards, we enable young people to take action, and we enable them to make the change that we want to see in our education system today.
Thanks so much, Lucy. And what's remarkable to me is how the New School shows that when you give young people that decision-making authority, it has enormous impact on their engagement with school and their sense of belonging with school. And those are things that we can get rigorous about measuring. And so one of our asks has been to have comprehensive national data on the well-being of young people, as our member BeWell has been doing in a few locations across the country, but also having a universal framework for essential skills, and New School is doing a lot of that kind of work. So thank you. Next, I'd like to invite up Tracy Jackson, OBE, of National Literacy Trust, who's going to talk about the best early in education and care for every child, and NLT, our case study for this priority. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Great to be here. Our mission at the National Literacy Trust is to give all children the literacy skills they need to succeed in life. And as Mama so clearly articulated, the UK is a profoundly unequal country. Children start school behind their peers just because they're poor. And when children start behind, they often stay behind into adulthood. Poverty and low levels of literacy are deeply interwoven, and with poverty growing at its fastest rate for 100 years, millions of families are really struggling. But literacy is a powerful tool in the fight against poverty, and we need to act now to support those children to develop early language skills so that they can reach their potential, because the outcomes are not inevitable. We know that a child's earliest years lays the foundations for future success. Development of children's spoken language in the early years underpins all learning and is the best predictor for literacy. Neuroscience adds its voice to make a powerful case for investing in early childhood. And we recently published evidence that shows a strong strategic focus on early language and communication would have significant economic benefits. Early years is so important to the National Literacy Trust because we know we can help to break this cycle. This can happen if all children have access to high-quality early childhood education and care. We unleash the power of parents, and they have the support they need to support their children and learning from birth. And if we deliver place-based solutions where we really listen and understand that local needs that works and a system that works for children and families. Our Early Words Matter campaign amplifies this message, and we're pressing for long-term strategic investment in the early years. NLT advocates for an early childhood system that delivers high-quality, accessible, affordable, inclusive services that works for children and families that need our support the most. When children experience positive and rich early learning experiences, they're more likely to go on to be successful learners with high levels of well-being. We're so far away from fully realising the benefits of early learning for all children. The UK's economic future depends on highly educated, skilled and a diverse workforce. Investing in early years is the most efficient way to accomplish this and reduces future public spending across health, education, criminal justice and welfare. We stand at a critical moment with a new government, an opportunity to advocate for investment in high-quality early years, a mission for all of us. That's why the following priorities for the new Labour government are so important: that we build that workforce that can deliver a high-quality early years provision that children deserve, and that we ensure that that high-quality provision is accessible to all of the children and families, including those with children with special educational needs, and that we increase support for families and a strategic focus on learning from birth in the home. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. And Tracy also is a co-leader of our Early Years Working Group alongside Evie Coe from Borrow.me. Evie, can you give a wave? And they've been doing a lot of thinking about the opportunities in that space, in the home, around the home, and the holistic experiences that children receive early in childhood, and how there's not enough strategic focus kind of in that holistic experience. So if you would like to join them in thinking about that, reach out to us. Last but not least, I would like to welcome Cully Uppel to the stage, Deputy CEO of Summit Learning Trust, which is the case study for our fourth priority, joined up services to meet rising needs. Cully.
Thank you, everyone. I haven't spoken yet, but I've got a round of applause. That's a good thing. The picture doesn't do justice. Honestly, I'm a happy person just by looking at that, honestly. Thank you. It's an honour to be here. My first experience with Fair Education Alliance. But I think just talking about the work at Summit Learning Trust is really important for us. We operate a Summit Base Camp more so than a food bank in our area of Birmingham and Solihull. We have an all-through academy system of early learners, early years. We have our primary schools, our secondaries, as well as our sixth form college. And the whole idea of Summit Base Camp is about the idea of ascent and scaling new heights. I'm not just trying to throw in those slogans there, or perhaps referencing the badge that I wear here. We offer food, warmth, tech, and I think that's probably whereabout it should end when you think about school services. But we also think about transport, we think about bed poverty, we think about health and hygiene, not the traditional things that perhaps you associate the education sector to being able to provide. But we do that because they are the basic resources that those learners in those disadvantaged communities that we serve desperately need. We have community leads in our academies. They work with our families. They source collaborative links with many in the business sector locally and regionally. And they help us deliver the provision to ensure that those learners in our communities definitely get the resources that they need. There are no exceptions. That's not means tested. That's not a name on the door saying you are disadvantaged or you're not. Everybody and all are welcome. And I think that's absolutely fundamental, and it goes all the way through from years 3 or age 3 to 19. The aim, of course, is to remove barriers. We're talking about highly disadvantaged areas in Birmingham and Solihull, but that's not too dissimilar to the areas that yourselves as members serve too. And I think if you think about it, irrespective of whether the funding comes from the new government or not, we'll carry on doing that because it's absolutely our civic duty. Educationalists, teachers, business organisations, we do that because we're human, and that's the humanity inside of us. But of course, it would be fantastic if we had those joined up services, as alluded to earlier. Gina, our CEO, referenced earlier around the idea of fundamentally tackling the root cause of those problems so we can keep providing those resources without doing anything about understanding what it is that's causing this need in our society, in our sector. We've got to get to that bottom, and I love the idea that many esteemed members have talked about tackling the root as being fundamental in making sure we move forward. Joined up services will allow us at Summit Learning Trust to make sure we deliver with striking impact. That would mean that it's not just who turns up at 8 o'clock in the morning, but we'd have foresight and be forewarned about those learners, those families who really need support. And ultimately, we might be able to signpost those families knowing in faith that they will get the support they truly deserve. Because teachers, educationalists, we don't say no, because the fear at the moment is if we turn those people away, where else may the support come from? And I think that's ultimately the poignant point we need to really address. Our chair, Dr. Ogden, talked about superheroes and referenced Lewis Hamilton. We're not the superheroes at Summit Learning Trust, far from it. We're the collective members of a team, just like you are here today. And as part of Fair Education Alliance, we hope that certainly by getting behind this, we can truly ask for the joined up services we need in this sector and beyond. We want our learners to arrive at our gates, making sure that they're well equipped and ready for the learning that they truly deserve. And I'm sure that's something that we all share. So if we get this right, if we lobby the right people, just imagine what we could collectively achieve together as members. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Cully. And it is truly impressive work that you're doing at Summit Learning Trust. So everyone do have a look at that case study. But it's not work that every school should necessarily have to do. It's certainly not work that they should have to do without any additional funding. And it's not work they should have to do alone in their local communities with other services that are creaking or operating in silos without clear roles or responsibilities. So we are asking for more targeted funding to mitigate the impacts of poverty, but first and foremost, we need to invest in children and families at an earlier state rather than at crisis level, and rather than expecting everyone to pick up the pieces because of their humanity and because of their civic duty. So thank you so much to all four of you to bring some perspective and a bit of reality to the policy asks. I'm going to bring up a Slido in a moment, and you'll see that QR code come up again. Earlier, I asked you to make some notes on which of these you or your organization might want to get involved with as far as convening, as far as collective action, or which just align with what your organization is trying to do. So if you go to that Slido QR code or go to the website as before, you'll see a list of topics. And those are the ones that aren't just a simple, we'd like more money, please, but actually need a lot of strategic thought, and no one has the answer yet, and we all have ideas, but we actually just need to get around a table and try to give the incoming government and other people making policy the best advice possible. So go into that Slido and tick as many of those as you feel are relevant to you. And over the coming months, we'll try to convene some groups where there's a lot of interest and expertise to lend to the issue and see if we can get some traction for our collective experience and ideas. So I'll give you a moment to do that. I didn't plan any jazzy music, and I should have. Shall I sing? You don't want that. Raise your hand if you need some more time. Flora. No, go on. I want everyone to finish. Yeah. Gina, here's your phone. You can tell us what you want to get involved with, Gina. Okay. So hopefully you found some things on that list that feel like, yes, I have something to say about this, and I would like to say it, and I'd like to work together with other people. And then finally, the last thing before I leave you to go to some great breakout groups to build skills is this is our launch of our Priorities for a New Government, and I would love for you all to be involved in it, all to support it. So a different QR code, you're gonna see a QR code on your name badge. I would love for everyone to go to that QR code, which will take you to a landing page that has some tweets to retweet, LinkedIn posts to repost. You can do it on Instagram. Choose your favorite platform, and I would love if you could just repost that post with a comment about which of those priorities you're excited about. What speaks to you? What do you care about that we've just been talking about for the last 45 minutes? Because I think there probably is something in there that everyone feels a bit more attached to. So if you could do that. Burn, baby, burn. Let's go. Oh, the document has arrived. Parcel Force heard us. Because my next tweet was going to be to tweet at Parcel Force to bring us the document. So, Oh, you're going to that landing page from this QR code? Sorry, I know there's been a few QR codes, so I'll say it again. Go to this QR code, and that'll take you to a landing page with social media posts that you can just repost automatically and say what you are excited about within our collective priorities. Okay. And while people finish up doing that, Dan is going to come up in a moment and send you guys off, but the idea now is that we go into breakout sessions for members to share their knowledge, their experience, things that they've learned in their journey with each other. So we've got lots of different topics there, but the idea is to do a bit of learning so that then we can take this forward in a bit more of a prepared way. But before I leave you, we've got these. There's a short version and a long version. We've got a lot of the short versions around, so in the next break, pick one up, have a flip, hear from the people that you heard from in this session, and do reach out to us, and let's keep pushing them forward together. This year, next year, it's going to be a project, and I look forward to working on it with all of you. Thanks very much.